In the dusty archives of a defunct shipping company in Manila, there is a folder that should not exist. It is a collection of cargo manifests and paid invoices dating back to the late 1960s. These records show that hundreds of tons of high-grade cement, heavy construction machinery, and luxury materials were ordered, paid for in gold, and shipped to a specific port on the island of Samar. The coordinates for the delivery are precise. They point to a rugged stretch of coast between Gahn-dah-rah and Pagsanjan. But if you were to travel to those coordinates today, you would find nothing but a wall of gnarled black trees and the silent, heavy heat of the Philippine jungle. There are no piers, there are no roads, there are no records of a city ever having been built there. Yet the signatures on the delivery receipts are real. The money was legitimate. And for the men who steered those cargo ships into the mist of the Samar Sea, the destination was not a myth. It was a magnificent, glowing metropolis of stone and light that rose out of the trees like a cathedral. This is the mystery of Biringan. To the rest of the world, it is a ghost story. To the engineers and captains who were paid to build it, it was a physical reality. And for those who have accidentally crossed its borders, it is a trap from which there is no easy return.
To understand the shadow of Biringan, we must look at the men who claim to have seen its gates. The island of Samar is a place of ancient, jagged geography. It is a land of massive limestone caves and forests so dense the sun rarely touches the floor. In the local dialect, Biringan means the place where one finds the lost. For centuries, the villagers of the region have spoken of the city in hushed tones. They describe it not as a ruined city, but as a living one. They speak of spires that reach into the clouds and buildings made of a material that glows with its own internal light. But Biringan does not appear on any satellite image. It does not appear on any topographic map. It is an invisible metropolis that exists in the same space as the jungle, but in a different frequency of reality. Local folklore suggests that Biringan is the home of the too-mah-oh, powerful, ethereal beings who look almost exactly like us. They are tall, graceful, and strikingly beautiful. But if you look closely at their faces, you will see the sharp, impossible moment that marks them as something else. A Biringanon has no philtrum. The vertical groove between the nose and the upper lip is perfectly, unnaturally smooth. It is a face that is almost human, but slightly wrong. In the 1960s, the mystery moved from the realm of folklore into the realm of cold, hard commerce. Enter Captain Anselmo. He was a veteran of the merchant marines, a man with a weathered face like cracked leather and a sharp silver-gray goatee. Anselmo was not a man given to flights of fancy. He was a man of manifests and tide charts. In 1968, Anselmo's shipping firm received a massive order. The payment was made up front in gold bullion. The cargo consisted of specialized steel beams and industrial generators. The delivery address was simply the port of Biringan, Samar. Anselmo consulted his maps. He found nothing. He questioned his superiors, who told him to simply follow the coordinates provided. As his ship approached the coast of Samar, a thick, unnatural fog rolled across the water. The radar began to pulse with the silhouette of a massive city where there should have been only trees. Anselmo describes the moment the fog lifted. He saw a pier made of a white porcelain-like stone that seemed to emit a soft golden glow. He saw a city of impossible architecture, spires that defy the laws of physics, and streets filled with people in ornate patterned robes.
He stayed at the pier for 2 days as the cargo was unloaded. He walked the streets of a city that was more advanced than any he had seen in Europe or America. He spoke to the officials, men and women who were polite, beautiful, and possessed that strangely smooth upper lip. When the cargo was cleared and the invoices were signed, Anselmo sailed back into the fog. But when he returned to the same coordinates a month later to deliver a second shipment, there was no pier, there was no city. There was only the sound of the wind in the black trees and the sight of monkeys playing in the ruins of what looked like ancient moss-covered stone. But the invoices remained. The gold in the company's vault was real, and the auditor, a thin, gaunt man with wire-rimmed spectacles and a perpetual scowl, could find no error in the books. The money had come from somewhere. The cargo had gone somewhere. But Biringan had vanished back into the ink of the jungle.
As the years passed, the reports shifted from commercial encounters to terrifying personal ones. Those who have found themselves lost in the Samar jungle speak of a specific feeling that precedes an encounter with Biringan. The birds stop singing. The air becomes heavy and sweet, like the smell of rotting jasmine. And then the trees seem to part to reveal a road that wasn't there before. One such account comes from a young surveyor in the 1970s. He was separated from his team and wandered for hours before he was found by a tall man in a barong made of shimmering geometric patterns. The man invited the surveyor to his home, a house that looked like a palace made of glass.
The surveyor was offered a meal. In Biringan, the food is almost always described as red. Red rice, red meat, red fruit. Local legend warns that if you eat the red food of Biringan, your soul becomes etched into the city. You lose the ability to see your own world. You become one of the lost. The surveyor refused the food. He noticed that his host never blinked. He noticed the smooth, grooveless skin above the man's lip. He fled into the darkness. And when he was found by a search party 3 days later, he was miles away from where he had started, his clothes perfectly clean and dry, despite a week of monsoon rains. He could never explain how he had survived. He could only describe the lights of a city that shouldn't exist.
In the 1980s, the mystery took a darker turn with the report of the Vanishing Bus. It was a standard provincial bus traveling the long, lonely road through the Samar interior. There were 30 passengers on board. It was late at night, and the driver was experienced. According to witnesses at a checkpoint a few miles back, the bus was on schedule. It never arrived at the next town. A massive search operation was launched. Helicopters combed the road. Soldiers searched the ravines. They found no wreckage. They found no skid marks. A bus of that size cannot simply disappear on a single-lane road.
Years later, a man claiming to be one of the passengers was found wandering near the Gahn-dah-rah River. He was wearing the same clothes he had been wearing the night the bus vanished, but they looked brand new. He claimed the bus had been stopped by a group of tall, beautiful people who invited them into a city of light just off the highway. He described a place of eternal twilight where no one ever grew old. He claimed the other 29 passengers were still there, living in beautiful homes, having eaten the red food and forgotten their families. He had managed to escape only because he had been fasting for a religious holiday. When he tried to lead investigators back to the spot, he found only a solid wall of ancient gnarled trees. The bus was never found. The 30 families are still waiting. Scientists and skeptics have tried to find a rational explanation for Biringan. Some suggest it is a mass hallucination caused by the spores of a rare jungle fungus. Others suggest it is an infrasound phenomenon, where the shape of the limestone caves creates a frequency that triggers the brain's vision centers. But these theories do not explain the invoices. They do not explain the gold bullion. They do not explain the engineering materials that were bought and paid for by a city that isn't on the map.
Is Biringan a parallel dimension? Is it a wormhole in the fabric of the Philippine archipelago? Or is it something more ancient, a civilization that has mastered the art of being invisible, hiding in plain sight behind a curtain of light and shadow? The Auditor, the man with the spectacles and the clipboard, spent the rest of his life trying to find the source of the Biringan gold. He traced the bank accounts, but they led to nowhere. He interviewed the captains, but they all described the same impossible pier. In his final journal entry, the Auditor wrote, "We are looking for a place. We should be looking for a permission. Biringan is not a coordinate. It is a choice. The city only exists for those it invites. And once you are invited, the map no longer matters."
Today, the jungle of Samar remains as silent and heavy as it was in 1960. The black trees continue to grow over the ruins of the ancient world. But if you are ever driving down a lonely road in the Philippine interior and the birds suddenly stop singing, if the air begins to smell of rotting jasmine and a road appears where there should be only vines, look at the person who greets you. Look at the space above their lip. And whatever you do, do not eat the red food. Biringan is still there. It is part of the ink now. It is etched into the geography of the lost. And behind the wall of trees, the city of light is still waiting for its next delivery. The manifests are signed, the gold is paid, and the city is still invisible.